Never. It's impossible. It's against the meaning of Holy Eucharist itself. It's against the meaning of being Catholic. It's and not only late-term abortion, any abortion. When someone publicly supports the killing of an innocent child, an unborn child, independently which age the unborn has,
from conception,
yes, is a horrible crime.
yes,
That cries to heaven. And when someone supports this, he is declaring themselves against, he is committing a grave sin because he is supporting murder. And he can at no circumstances be admitted to Holy Communion until he repents and publicly retracts. And he has to publicly to retract and to repent. And this against Holy Communion, because Holy Communion, what does means Holy Communion? Eucharistic Communion means this is the form of the greatest union with the faith and the life of the Church and with God Himself. So, when I receive Jesus Christ in Holy Communion, I'm demonstrating communion means union, but first with Christ and with His will. And Jesus Christ said, who observes my commandments is who loves me. So when you do not observe the commandment of God, in this case, not to kill innocents, you are not loving God. And you are not in union with God. But you are going to Holy Communion and displaying before all that you are in the closest union with God. Because Holy Communion is the closest possible union with God here on earth. The sacramental reception of His body and blood, His soul, His divinity in the Holy Communion. This is, and in the same time, it is the greatest expression of the union with the entire Church. And so, but the Church always rejected and rejects and will reject categorically abortion.
yes,
Or let us say other immoralities public, like the homosexual agenda or the so-called marriages, same-sex marriages. The Church rejected and will reject always this, because against the will of God, the revealed will of God, and against the happiness of the people themselves, of those persons. So, but in this case, these politicians, when they openly promote abortion or same-sex marriages, they are not in union with the teaching of the Church. And so how can they go to communion and say we are in full communion with the teaching, with the Church, which implies the communion with the teaching of the Church? This is a lie. So to give communion to such politicians is a performance of an enormous lie.
and they are
a
heaping
fake,
Yeah.
and at the same time it is a sacrilegious, it's an offense to God, because it's the most holy which we have, the Holy Communion, and we are desecrating this with this fake performance during Holy Communion. And by this same, we are saying, those who give Holy Communion, the priests or the bishops, allowing them, okay, we are approving your style, your lifestyle. By this, we are implicitly approving
Right.
their lifestyle and say, okay, you can continue
Yes.
to make this. This is in any case anti-pastoral. It is an anti-witness against the love, the faith of the Church. It is a performance. It is of a really desecration of the most holy which we have. And it is also a greatest act of uncharity to these politicians themselves, because they are committing sacrilege, and they are offending God by contradicting His will and then receiving the Holy Communion. In this case, as St. Paul says, they are eating their judgment.
Yes.
And we are allowing them to eat their own judgment, these priests and bishops. So we are harming their eternal salvation. And this is non-charitable. This is an act of against the love of neighbor. So if I will, and every priest in this case, when this is known publicly, he must charitably, of course, refuse to give them Holy Communion and say, I do this because I love you. I don't want to harm your soul. And so my rejection to not give you Holy Communion is an expression of my love for your soul. And when you will die once, you will remember this and you will be grateful to me that I spared you so many grave sins. And be thankful, at least you have not accumulated other grave sins. You have already accumulated so many sins in your life, contradicting the will of God, supporting the mass murder of innocent children. And then, at least you have not accumulated other sins, other horrible sins, the sacrilegious reception of Holy Communion. So we have to see this in the light of the eternity also. And I repeat, these politicians should never receive Holy Communion for the sake of the salvation also of their own soul.